Everyone.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Councillor Marcus Cravis. We should technically we need to elect a chair before we go any further. So, any propositions for chair?
I'd like to propose Marcus as chair. Fitting.
Yes.
Second.
Thank you very much. That's duly accepted. On my left, I've got Councillor Mike Murphy, I've got Councillor Mark Dudridge, and as I said, I've got obviously no apologies for absence. I'm going through and next item of business is declarations of interest. Any declaration of interest from members in the meeting? Okay, and I've now missed the first item, which was for everybody else to introduce themselves. So if I can just ask the other people in the room to introduce themselves, starting on my right.
Sorry, turn it on. Good morning, Steve Taylor, Committee Manager.
Good morning, Nigel Osborne, Legal Advisor.
Good morning, Leanne Leeds, Licensing Officer.
Good morning, Anthony Curtin from the Bistro Scarcity.
Thank you. So I just need to do is minutes of the subcommittee. I'm just going to check with the members they're happy for me to sign off the minutes of this hearing once they've been drafted. Right, so today the subcommittee has been asked to consider an application for premises licence in respect of the Bistro 27 Claydon's Corner, Stagursey, Bridgewater, TA51TS. And we're going to have a presentation from Leanne Leeds, who's the licensing officer of this case. There'll then be the opportunity for people to question the licensing officer, and then the applicants can then present their application to us, and obviously we'll have the opportunity to ask you questions, and then there'll be any other further questions as well. So without hesitation, I'll pass over to Leanne, who will give her report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. An application has been made on behalf of Mr. Anthony Curtin in accordance with the Licensing Act 2003 for a premises in respect of the Bistro 27 Clayland Corner, Bridgewater, TA51TS. The application has received relevant representation and must therefore be heard in front of the licensing subcommittee to determine the application. The subcommittee must take one of the following steps as it considers appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives, which are listed below. So they can grant the license subject to conditions, exclude certain licensable activities from an application, refuse to specify a person as the designated premises supervisor, or to reject the application. In determining the application, the subcommittee must have regard and give appropriate weight to the relevant representation received from Stagursey Parish Council, revised guidance issued under the Section 182 of the Licensing Act, the Licensing Authority's Statement of Licensing Policy, which was published in September 23, and any human rights considerations, in particular Article 6 and Article 1. The premises is operating as the Bistro and will be a small coffee shop and bistro offering breakfast, light lunches and afternoon cream teas, and will also provide Sunday lunches. The premises would like to provide the sale of alcohol for consumption on the premises and late night refreshment. So for the sale of alcohol every day from midday to 11 o'clock at night, and then on Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve and bank holiday weekends until midnight. For late night refreshment, the application seeks to authorise every day from 11 o'clock. No, apologies. Late night refreshment is only for Christmas Day, New Year's Eve and bank holiday weekends from 11 o'clock until midnight. The application was circulated to responsible authorities on the 8th of July. And the licensing authority received evidence from the applicant that it was correctly displayed on the premises and advertised in the newspaper. The licensing authority received a relevant representation from Stagursey Parish Council. This representation is attached to this report at Appendix 3. The police negotiated with the applicant, and as a result, the applicant agreed that the operating schedule in their application be revised to include the amended additional conditions. On this basis, no representation was made by the police, and the agreed conditions are shown in this report as Appendix 4. All parties have the right to appeal to the Magistrate Court if aggrieved by the decision of the licensing authority. That's the end. Any thanks? And I'll happily take questions.
Okay, so I'll go to fellow members of the panel first. Any questions for the licensing officer?
Do you have any evidence of any breaches at all, or any kind? Is there any evidence of any breaches during their operation?
No, this is for a new premises license, so there's been no evidence or any temporary event notices.
And I'm afraid that was going to be my question as well, but it's not really, obviously they haven't got a license, can't be a breach of a license, but I'll probably ask, and obviously it'd be unfair to ask you whether there's been any other complaints regarding anything else. So just remind me again, that late night refreshments is only for
My
specific days?
apologies, yes, late night refreshments, so it commences at 11 o'clock every day. So it's only for the hours for New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve until midnight.
And would they question on that? Would they, am I right in saying that there'd be special hours for those evenings anyway on the government statutory?
Unless they are granted sort of through a legislative order, they know what they applied for, they would apply.
Any further questions? Any questions of the applicants to the licensing officer?
I have no questions for Leanne.
In that case, I'm going to move down. I'd like to thank Leanne for that report. And I'm going to move down my little list, and now it's over to yourselves. And I have to apologise because I didn't point out earlier that there are no fire drills for this morning. So if there is a fire alarm, I suggest we leave by the appropriate exit. I'm now going to hand over to the applicant. It's Anthony, isn't it? And let you give your presentation on your application.
Thank you, Councillor Kravis, fellow councillors. We're at the point where we are a little bit disappointed with the representation from Stergursey Parish Council, and I think their representation is based on a bit of ambiguity around our application. They seem to base their objections on the fact that we are trying to extend our operating hours, and this is not the case. All we're trying to do is ratify our existing hours and our 12 permitted private parties per year, and to get all those dates licensed. That's all we're trying to do. We don't want more hours. We're quite happy with the restrictions placed on us by the planning committee, which were open at 10 AM, closing at 4 PM. And we're quite happy with the 12 private functions that we're allowed to host in a 12-month period. All we're trying to do is make sure that during our normal operating hours and the 12 parties, that we're able to offer alcohol to our customers should they want it. At the moment, I'll give you an example of yesterday. We served 22 Sunday lunches yesterday between 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Only 2 of our customers requested an alcoholic drink out of the 22 customers. One was a glass of wine and one was a bottle of beer, which obviously we had to refuse. We're not promoting a business where people can drive into our establishment, order a drink, stand at our bar, not a bar, it's a pass where the pool is served from, and then jump back in their cars and drive off. I've stated in my application that any alcohol served will only be served when the customer is seated and has ordered a meal. All we want to do. And that's why we remain disappointed with the submission from Stergursey Parish Council. We don't feel that we've had the opportunity to talk to them, explain to them. We don't wish to extend our hours. quite happy with our operating hours. In fact, we're even thinking from a personal perspective that we might even reduce our opening hours because we're finding it really busy at the moment. And as you can see, we're in our 60s, allegedly retired, but we're working really hard. So we operate Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and we're even thinking in the winter of dropping the Monday. So that's basically our case. As I say, we're not promoting that. We have loads of people come to our venue for drinks. We have got no television. We've got no gaming machines. We don't propose to have sporting events or anything. All we want to do is offer our customers a glass of wine, a bottle of beer, once they've sat down and ordered their meal. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have on that basis.
Thank you very much for that. I'll go over to fellow members of the panel first.
No questions on the chair.
I've got maybe a couple of questions. I don't know whether to hand over to anybody else first to see if you've got any questions before I ask Mike.
I've just got one question, may or may not be relevant. What was the premises used for previously? Do you know?
Nothing. We built the premises ourselves.
All right.
It's Dawn's old stable that we converted to a small bistro. We have 6 tables and we can seat up to 20 people. That's it.
Leanne, any questions for us?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. I mean, I'm trying to rapidly find the objections to the parish council. So there's some of their objections is basically that you have got planning permission for one thing and asking for license for the other. But what you said is to us that you only actually want that license for those 12 special occasions that you got planning permission for, which and with regard to everything else, I would have said they were probably planning concerns rather than licensing concerns.
I would also agree with that.
Yeah, and obviously that's up to you to, or if you did want to change your operating hours so you don't clash with licensing, clash with planning, that would be up to you. Anything else they've said, I'm not quite sure are relevant. What I have got, I mean, I read through your application. It's a very comprehensive application, actually. I was and I do know what the premises is. And I was surprised how detailed don't take this as a compliment. I was surprised how detailed the application was with regard to opening hours, etc., and your policies, etc. And then I've looked at the police conditions, and obviously they marry up quite specifically. So my first question is, did you speak to the police before you put the application in, or is that just a coincidence that some of their conditions are very similar?
No, we didn't speak to the police before we put the application in. We were contacted by our agent and said the police would like to come visit us and look around the premises and talk to us. And that's what happened. And they spent an hour and a half with us, asking us lots of questions, checking out CCTV, our Challenge 25 policy, and all those sorts of things that we'll have to have in place if we're successful with our license.
And of those, and particularly I'll probably concentrate on the CCTV conditions here. They are, I'm trying to think of a polite word, but they're quite comprehensive.
Onerous.
Well, yeah, I probably more likely I should be using that word rather than you, but are you happy with those? I mean, you're happy that you can continue to operate. I mean, CCTV system, but they do break, and I'd hate you to be breached with a license because your CCTV's got down for once you drove into Guernsey.
So I'll give you a little bit of background on our CCTV. Going back to 2022, we had a family incident, and we had to temporarily foster our 2 granddaughters. One was 12 weeks old, the other was 7-year-old. And during the 18 months that they were with us, one of the conditions of us being able to foster the 2 granddaughters, we had to have a competent CCTV system put in place. luckily Somerset Fostering Council paid for the CCTV to go on our premises, and we have 3 cameras outside, monitored remotely. So we do have a really good camera system, CCTV system in the bistro, purely by chance rather than for the business. So I've recently spoken to the suppliers, and they've given us another monitor. So we have a couple of monitors that we can use. We have 3 really good cameras, and the police concerns are being able to back up the system, have at least 31 days records in case they wanted to have a look. The images must be clear enough to identify people and number plates of vehicles, and we have all that in place. Luckily, to go out and purchase that as part of the license, we might have had to think twice about applying for a license, because at the moment, to give you an idea, we've probably spent almost £2,000 to get us where we are today, and to go over that now, but in a really good CCTV system, we might have thought twice about actually going through the process. So luckily, Somerset Foster paid for our really good camera system, and that is why I've got no objections to making sure that the system is maintained and the records are there should they need them.
And just for clarification, you've asked for this, obviously, and in your application, it says that you will only be serving alcohol in ancillary to purchase of food.
That's right. Sorry, we're not promoting what's called vertical drinking. I don't know where the term came from, but it means people, as I said to you earlier on, it means people driving into our premises, standing at the pass where we serve the food, ordering a bottle of beer, a glass of wine, and then driving off. We're just not interested in that. Really.
Okay, and finally, sorry to my fellow members for labouring the point, I suppose, on some of these conditions. With regard to all the registers and documentation that you will be required to keep, there was one, you're happy that you can keep up with all those documentations that have been asked of you in one of the police conditions, but also in your own application, I noticed that you said a premises register. I actually wondered what one of those was. But you're happy that, I mean, there's only the 2 of you, asked you, and I presume you've got some part-time people who will come in and help. You're happy that you can keep all that up to date?
Yeah, they're talking about basically training records when it comes to our staff, which is basically who you can see in front of you now, being able to have the ability to challenge young people if they should want to come to our bistro based on age and sale of alcohol, and keep the records of those challenges. So we don't just challenge somebody who comes to the bistro and say, are you 20, are you 18 or over? Can you prove it? Have you got a driving license? Have you got a registration card? We have to keep a record of those challenges so the police can inspect it, see that we are managing those types of incidents should they occur.
Okay. I'm going to really start by people.
But is it challenges just refusal? I'm trying to find, because my understanding was it was only those that you actually refused that you need to, not every challenge, because you could be doing an awful lot of writing if you had to write down every time you challenge somebody. But I suppose in the location you're at, I suppose that would be very minimal, so it shouldn't be too onerous. I don't think I've got any other questions at this moment in time, unless there's any questions from anybody else arising from these questions. Yeah, move on to any summing up. Final opportunity for each party to sum up. It's not been the longest hearing in the world. Anything else from yourself, Nigel? Leanne? And yourselves?
Nothing that I must thank you, just to say thank you for your time this morning. We'll abide by any conditions that we may wish to propose. So thank you for that.
Okay. In that case, we will now retire and discuss the application in private, and we will come back and either give you a decision. If we can't, if we can't come up with a decision straight away, you'll be notified in 3 days. I think 3 working days, isn't it? 5 working days, sorry, apologies. But but we'll let you know after we've had a private discussion. So I ask you to wait.
Thank you.
Thank you all for waiting. So the licensing committee has been asked to consider an application for new premises license for the premises known as the Bistro, 27 Clayton's Corners to Guernsey. The subcommittee has considered all the evidence presented by the applicant and the objectives, both in person and in writing. That included the objections from the parish council. The subcommittee's decision is made in accordance with the council's statement of licensing policy, the Secretary of State's guidance and current case law. The subcommittee is advised that the applicant has accepted conditions proposed by the police and therefore there is no objection from the police. So our decision. It is apparent to the subcommittee that there is no overwhelming objection to the application for a premises licence in principle. However, the terms of that licence were the concern. The subcommittee recognises that this is a well-prepared application with a comprehensive operating schedule, which comprehensively supports and promotes the licensing objectives. The question of the need for the premises and the issues over bus provision and lack of footpath or streetlights do not themselves fall within the remit of the licensing subcommittee. It is the duty of the licensing authority to consider each application on its merits, irrespective of the needs or demands for a licensed premises in the locality. The issue that remains is that of the licensed hours for sale of alcohol. The parish council has brought to the subcommittee's attention the planning consent of the 14th of June 2023, which restricts the trading hours of the premises by way of a terminal hour of 4 p.m, with the exception of 12 private functions a year. Planning and licensing are separate regulatory codes which would have their own enforcement regimes, and therefore, whilst the decision reached by the planning committee may influence the licensing decision-making process, it is not bound to follow planning's lead. The application is primarily for alcohol to be available to complement food and not as an alternative pub. The operating schedule makes clear that all alcohol sales will be ancillary to the purchase of food and shall be sold by table service only. The applicant has explained that the application is for the hours outside of those permitted by the planning consent only apply to the 12 private functions per year that are actually permitted by the planning consent. It is therefore apparent that the parish council have misunderstood the terms of the application. Accordingly, it is a decision of this subcommittee to grant the premises licence to the Bistro, 27 Clayton's Corners to Guernsey between the hours of 12 and 4 p.m, 7 days a week, together with a submitted operating schedule and conditions agreed with the police. For the avoidance doubt, the terms of the licence as follows: sale and supply of alcohol Monday to Sunday 10 till 4, during the 12 private functions per year, sale and supply of alcohol 12 till 23, late night refreshments 11 till 23:30. The terminal hours for the 12 private events may be extended to 12:30 a.m, where a private function is held on Christmas Day, New Year's Eve and Bank Holiday week.
Thank you very much for that.
With that, I will close the hearing.